What up, doe friends? I'm Mimi, and welcome to my channel, Mimi in the Middle, where I discuss all things health, wellness, and lifestyle related from a middle-aged perspective. In this video, this is the first video of a video series that I'm very excited to start. I am going to be taking you along with me on my journey to become a clinical mental health counselor. This is something that I'm just really excited about. I talked about it in a previous video, and if you've been looking at other videos that I've done, you know all of the things that I tend to focus on are lifestyle or health and wellness lifestyle related. I've talked about my weight loss journey and my journey to get fit. I've also talked about my journey to become a yoga and meditation teacher. And this is part of that journey. It may not seem like it, but this actually is part of the journey. And so I'm going to do a separate video series just talking specifically about becoming a clinical mental health counselor. There are actually quite a few people that I've discovered on YouTube that have done something very similar. They've taken their viewers along with them as they pursue their graduate degree in clinical mental health counseling or social work or marriage and family therapy counseling or psychology as well. And so I've been looking at those and they've been so helpful to me in so many ways. I also want to do the same to just document this process that I'm going through, and then also to share it with other folk and to build community. So hopefully I can start to connect with others who are going through similar programs or have gone through similar programs. Mental health is such an important part of our health, and it's something that people are really paying a lot more attention to just in the media in the world now. But there have been those who have been doing this for a long time and studying it, and it's something that's been on my heart to kind of focus on for a long time too. So I'm just so excited to be able to do that. So as yoga and meditation is something that I've focused on, and diet and exercise, health and wellness overall, mental health is part of that. Mental health is health. And so I actually have a background in behavioral health or mental health policy. And maybe what I'll do is kind of talk a little bit first about my career trajectory. This entire YouTube channel is really focused on lifestyle from a middle-aged perspective, and I am a middle-aged woman. I am approaching 50, not quite there yet, but I'm in my, I would say, mid to late 40s at this point. And I've had a career. I've had many careers actually. And I'll start by just sharing a little bit of what I've done and what has actually led me to this new, I guess you could maybe say, pivot in my career. So I started out, my first career, my first job out of college was in education and teaching. So I was an elementary school teacher, and then I became a middle school teacher at a certain point. And while I was in school, actually, while I was teaching full time, I went back and got a graduate degree in library information science. So I became a librarian, and I had a focus on school librarianship. So I was a school librarian or a school librarian media specialist. And I was actually a school librarian or a media specialist at a middle school. And I ended up teaching drama as well, and also teaching social studies, which I also had a specialization or a certification in. So I did that for a number of years, but even from undergrad, I knew I wanted to go back to school and get a PhD. I thought I wanted to be a college professor. That was a dream that I had for many, many years. And so after teaching for about 8 or 9 years, I ended up leaving education or leaving the school system and going back and getting a PhD. So I ended up getting into a PhD program in education policy. And my undergraduate degree, by the way, was in social relations, social policy, and I got a teaching specialization on top of that. But social policy was something that I was always interested in, helping people, and how do we um, develop programs and laws and policies that can help people. So I was very excited about doing education policy because I had that background in education. I did that for a while. I actually did international education policy or comparative education. I was a Fulbright scholar abroad. I lived abroad in Brazil and studied and did research, but ended up going more focused on policy after I graduated. So I didn't go into academia. I ended up going into the policy world, and I started off working in youth policy and mental health policy. So I was doing that work, and I was around lots of people who were clinicians. There were a lot of social workers actually that were doing the mental health policy, and it was very exciting. I did that for a number of years, and then I ended up working in other types of primary health care, public health programs and policy. And I ended up in workforce development policy, and that's where I am now. I actually work in workforce development, and I'm actually in the diversity, equity, inclusion, accessibility space as well. I do some work in that space and human capital management. So that is my day job, my day work. But DEIA, or diversity, equity, inclusion, accessibility, and human capital management, what does that have in common? People, right? So I am a people person, still working with helping people with using policies and programs to really help people in their work lives and people across the country, supporting the work that we do to support people across the country in their work lives as well. And so while I'm doing that, and while I'm developing and thinking more about health and wellness in my own personal life and in my friends and family's life, I really started to kind of go back into that mental health space and became really interested in it, and finally decided that it was time for me to get that clinical knowledge and actually be a clinician. I can do another video to do like an even deeper dive into my career trajectory. If that's something you're interested in, leave me a note in the comments, and I definitely can do that in the future. I have lots of ideas of things I want to do around even career development, because that is something that's part of my background as well. I do a lot of counseling in career development and working with people, and so I can definitely talk about that, and that's actually part of what counselors do in this degree. I'll get even more training in being a clinician and being able to work in that career development field. But let me talk a little bit about what I am actually going to be doing in my graduate program. So my graduate program, I actually start, this is August 2022 for documentation purposes, and I start my program in August 2022. This is the beginning of August. I start at the end of August. I have orientation and classes start. My clinical mental health counseling program is a 60 credit Masters of Arts program. Like I said, I have a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, a PhD. I didn't want a second PhD, but I was okay getting a second master's. So I will be a master's level clinician by the time I'm finished with this. The university that I'm getting my degree in is CACREP accredited, which is the Council for Accreditation of Counseling and Related Educational Programs. So CACREP accredited is something that's very important if you want to be able to get licensed and to get a job once you finish your degree. So my program is CACREP accredited. I'm actually taking courses online. All of my classes are online. I do have to go into the campus a couple of times through the course of the year to do I guess like in-person intensive clinical work, clinical skills work. I'm going to learn more about that in the orientation and talk more about that. I think I'll do a video on more specifically about the classes. I'll talk about them generally here, but once I get the syllabus, I'll know a lot more. So like I said, this is a 60 credit program, and I'm going to be taking classes part-time. I still have a full-time job. I still have work that I do outside of my full-time job. I've talked about businesses and things that I'm running and building, and I can talk more about that later, but I'm pretty busy. So I know that I can't just go full-time and take like 3 or 4 classes really a semester. So I'm taking probably, I say 3 or 4, no, but I probably will take about 2, maybe 3 classes a semester, depending on just what else is going with me. But still, it may take me about 5 years to complete this entire program. Like I said, there's 60 credits. But then you also have to do internships, you also have to do practicums just to be in a clinical setting and to practice. So just a little bit of an overview for the program that I'm in. I'll just read this out because it's the program overview. This CACREP accredited counselor education program has a specialty area in clinical mental health counseling. So I am getting the clinical counseling piece of it. I guess other types of counselor education programs don't include that clinical piece, but my degree program does. This program trains students in 8 core areas: professional counseling orientation and ethical practice, social and cultural diversity, human growth and development, career development, counseling and helping relationships, group counseling and group work, assessment and testing, and research and program evaluation. Now, I actually have a background in some of these things already, and I'm excited about all of them. So I have a background in social and cultural diversity through the work I've done in undergrad and graduate school and even my professional work now. I have a bit of a background in human growth and development. We get a little bit of that in our teacher training that I did years ago. And of course, working with little ones, I was dealing with human growth and development all the time. And even now, actually, the life phase or the lifespan isn't just for kids. When you're talking about human growth and development, that includes middle age. So this area or phase of life that I find myself in, that I'm trying to connect with others who are in that phase or interested in what it's like to be in that phase. That's part of human growth and development. So I'll learn a bit about that. Career development, that's something, again, that I have a background in and an interest in. And then research and program evaluation. I've done that, again, in graduate school, in my research work, and even in the work I do currently. We use research and we definitely make decisions based on program evaluation. And I've helped to kind of guide program evaluators in certain things that they need to evaluate. So I have that background as well. So I think I'm really interested in seeing what this looks like in the counseling sphere, because I've looked at these things in the policy realm, I've looked at these things in the education realm, but as a counselor, there's a different type of orientation, and I'm really excited to really dig into the content of the books and also the coursework and just the work in general. There are a number of required courses that you have to take in this program, including group counseling, foundational counseling skills, professional orientation, assessment and testing, addictions counseling, social cultural diversity, career counseling, research and evaluation and counseling, and many, many more. I didn't list all of them out, but that's some of the courses that you have to take that are required. And then you have elective courses. You have to take 3 electives, and you can either take addictions electives, like for instance, family counseling approaches to addictions, integrative approach to addictions counseling, social justice and advocacy and addictions counseling. And if you take 3 electives in addictions, you can qualify for an addictions concentration. Likewise, and this is actually something I think I'm going to do, there are trauma electives that you can take as well. And so I'm really interested in trauma and trauma-informed care. When I first started working in behavioral health policy, I worked with a lot of people who were real advocates of trauma-informed care. And so to be able to kind of learn more about that and to really focus and get a trauma certification and be a trauma informed professional, that's something that I think I want to do. So the courses that they have in this program include trauma and resiliency, creative approaches to trauma informed practice, and counseling approaches to trauma, grief, and loss. So I think I plan on taking those classes and getting that certificate in addition to my degree in clinical mental health counseling. So, like I said, I already have a career, I already have a number of degrees, but I'm kind of making a pivot. I'm not saying that I'm leaving the program or leaving the work that I currently do. I know that at a certain point, I might want to supplement what I'm currently doing with being a clinician, being a psychotherapist, or even connecting the work that I do in health and wellness with the work that I'll be able to do as a clinical mental health counselor. I'm really excited about having a more holistic approach to mental health and behavioral health and being able to offer that to people. And whether it's a private practice where I'm working in a group practice, but that being really my professional orientation. I will say definitely I want to be able to work with communities of color as a Black woman. I know that we, Black people, Black women, people of color overall are underrepresented in terms of getting the help that we need in mental health, and also underrepresented as clinicians. And so I definitely want to be one of those people who is changing, I guess you could say, the face of behavioral health professionals, or the behavioral health profession, and also being able to get more people to feel comfortable seeing a mental health counselor or seeing someone in the mental health profession, as well as seeing someone who is a yoga teacher or even a yoga therapist. I've talked before about wanting to get certification in yoga therapy and becoming a yoga therapist. I think that's probably after I get my clinical degree and work for a while. So for me, I just became a certified and registered yoga teacher, and I want to just develop that practice a little bit more in terms of my offerings that I offer people, as well as just learning as much as I can about yoga and the 8 limbs of yoga. And I want to just learn as much as I can about clinical mental health counseling and being a mental health professional. And once I'm kind of strong in both of those, I may then go and get that additional training or certification in yoga therapy. But that's down the road for me. So that's it for now. This is the first of a video series that I will continue hopefully for the entire duration of my program. So, this may be a few years that I'll be working on this, but my goal is to at least post something once a month related to my clinical mental health counseling degree program journey. I also post updates on my health and wellness journey pretty much monthly, and I also post micro practices at least once a month. So there's something on this channel every week. If you're just here for the clinical mental health counseling piece, definitely come back, definitely subscribe. If you like this video, please click like. If you are a clinical mental health counseling student or graduate professional and you have a YouTube channel, please put your channel down below in the comments, because I want to follow you as well. If you know someone who might be interested in this content, please share the video so that we can just build this community together. And if you have anything in particular that you want to know about the counseling program, about the work that I'm doing, or about even my career development, again, that's something I'm really passionate about, and I'd be willing to do a deeper dive in that as well. So thank you everyone for taking the time to watch this video, and stay tuned for more. Take care.